Hello and welcome to Talk Seagulls for the first time this season. We are back in the Caxton in Brighton and I'm joined for a first ever opposition preview, which is very exciting. A very informal introduction to United Cloud, season ticket holder as well at Manchester United, to save you from the plastic claims. Isaac, my friend, how are you doing?
Yeah, all good, thanks. The moment that I start speaking, of course, I haven't got
the accent.
No, I'm a big Manchester United fan. Very excited for the game this weekend. I was at the game, obviously, being a season ticket holder against Fulham.
Yeah, you're at the game? No way. Man United fan was at the game.
No way, I know, especially one with a southern accent. But no, joking aside, I think we've come into the season looking quite strong. We've made some big signings, just as you have, and I think this one coming up. I just realised I just literally did the Frank Lampard thing of like laughing. No, seriously, but no. Seriously, I think we're looking quite good, and I think obviously the Amex away at 12:30 is never an easy game. Sort of seeing the sunlight, and it just reminds me of Victor Lindelof really struggling in his early days at United against Brighton. And you have got some very dynamic forwards now, and obviously you've added Ruta in the last 24 hours, I believe. So quite a lot to be scared of, but I'm confident. I think we can come and cause some trouble for you.
Yeah, do you know what? I'm excited, and for a start, it's nice to have you down in Brighton. As I wanted to try and get as many away fans here. It's not going to be every week. I get it's going to be hard to get everyone, but as many away fans into Brighton as possible, introduce them to the city. I think it's a good little thing.
No, you give me a great show around as well. I've already had
and Donatello's, eh?
Yeah, excellent.
Proper tourist that.
Yeah. But I had a really nice. Was it Tagliatelle I had?
Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah. No, it was good. So back onto the football. My gosh, I could talk about everything about Brighton. It's great, but. Man United, there's some misconceptions I think of United, because I sort of look at you and I'm like, are you still sort of the Ten Hag era? You can't be that bad, because I mean you've just won the FA Cup at the end of the season against Manchester City. Didn't do too bad in the Community Shield until the penalties. The Johnny Evans miss was quite funny, to be fair. But I mean, you're not doing too bad, I think, in the grand scheme of things. But you'd look at it as a bit of a banter era for United. But maybe you're getting through it now, do you think?
Well, I think last season's league performance and also the Champions League performances were just completely unacceptable. We came 8th and we came bottom of our Champions League group, but obviously we did win the Cup. Now, I think United are in a transitional period and have been for the entirety of the last 3 or 4 years, but now is the start of obviously the new ownership with Ineos. And already this summer, I think we've seen some pretty significant moves made in the market, mainly in terms of outgoings, to be honest with you. We've really balanced the books well. We've offloaded a lot of high earners who weren't really contributing. For example, Martial, who was just completely always injured. I don't want to go in on Martial because I'm a big Martial fan, but
he's gone now, isn't he? Yeah.
He's gone on a free. We've moved people on like him on a free. Varane went on a free, which is a shame because he still had a lot to give, but he was always injured and getting the wrong side of 30 now. So I think the books look much more healthy. The signings that we've made are pretty impressive. I really like Lenny Yoro as a signing that's just so uncharacteristic for Manchester United, and certainly not a signing that a club in a banter era would be making. I think the fact that we beat Real Madrid to a signing is a demonstration that a page has been turned with Ineos now, with Ten Hag in charge. And then obviously Ten Hag's never going to beat the allegations that he just signs players that he's worked with before or are Dutch, and obviously Xerxes, Mazraoui and De Ligt all fall into that category. For me, I'm really happy with the business that we've done. I think De Ligt is excellent. I think Yoro, obviously, as I say, is going to go to the very top of the game, hopefully. I'm encouraged. I'm encouraged by the movement we've made in the market, and I don't see any reason why we can't have a really good season.
Yeah, to be fair, actually, I saw some of your signings. You've got Dan Ashworth now, haven't you?
Of course. Oh, that's a big topic.
I wanted to get onto it, the signings. I'm actually quite glad it's jumped to the beginning, to be fair, because when I look at, obviously, Dan Ashworth, it's quite funny hearing United fans' point of view. It's quite funny hearing Newcastle fans' point of view, because Newcastle obviously sort of changed their tone now. When they first got him, they thought they got the genius behind Brighton, they got the mastermind. Most Brighton fans listen to this will tell you that he wasn't the mastermind. He was very helpful in what he did. I think he was very forward-thinking and, sort of helped the transition that we were in. But as you've seen since he's gone, obviously absolutely nothing's changed. We've still been signing some absolutely brilliant players. I think Newcastle done a similar sort of thing. And there was a very misleading graphic that Sky put out. And it was almost like the players that Ashworth has signed at Brighton. And on there was like Caicedo, on there was Mitoma, on there was all these players that actually he didn't sign at all. And I thought that was quite funny with how Man United fans have now adapted Newcastle's thinking. And is he a bit of a myth? I mean, has he really done anything? I don't know. I'm not saying he is, but I mean, Newcastle, obviously, they went through the sort of similar thing of thinking he was, the man who was going to do everything. And then actually, the signings that Newcastle made weren't anything. Well, they were to do with him. He helped them get over the line, but he wasn't the mastermind behind getting them done.
I think if Ashworth had a bit longer at Newcastle to sort of put his paws over the project, to say, maybe we would have seen some tangible stuff that you could really attribute to him. The work that he did that most inspired me and made me most excited wasn't necessarily the Brighton work, but the structural stuff he did at the FA before joining Brighton in the first place. Like, he's all over St. George's Park and sort of having that sort of structure, both, above and sort of in the how you operate, but also as a tangible piece in St. George's Park with all of the England set up together. Now, I think that he's probably somebody that, as you say, I think is definitely misunderstood. He's a misconception himself. I think he's somebody who can hopefully help United for the next decade and beyond have a much more defined structure.
If he stays that long.
If he does stay that long. But I mean, to be fair to him, I know you called him Cashworth and everything like that.
Every opportunity. Every opportunity he's got.
But there is not an opportunity bigger than United, really. I mean, it's not like Barcelona or Real Madrid's going to come calling for him. And even still, it's debatable, with someone with his remit, if that's even a step up. So I think for him, this is where he settles. This is where he builds his team. Already the appointments that we've made, Jason Wilcox being the technical director, looks very, very good. We've got a good, strong leadership team now around Eric Ten Hag. And I think, going back to the original question about, Ten Hag's performance, now he has got something to support him. He's got a group around him of people who are competent, good at their job. He hasn't got to, I think there was a Jim Radcliffe quote about Ten Hag saying that he's a great guy, but he's just doing too much. And now he hasn't got to do that. And I think much like, Brighton have had with head coaches coming in, fitting into that defined structure, that's what United have now established. And with Dan Ashworth, you've got somebody who's worked in that before, knows how that setup works. So we've got a structure around the coach to support him, and it's not all on him if we succeed, just as it's not all on him if we fail, which hopefully we don't.
Yeah, that's actually quite interesting, because again, that's probably something that most fans outside of United probably wouldn't know. It's a bit like with Brighton. I think people sort of think certain things about Brighton. They're just going to sign a wonder kid, it'll be fine. I think it was Rory Jennings and whoever was on the TalkSport show at the time was talking about sort of, but it's unsustainable. They can't keep doing this. It's not a magic wand and everything like that. And actually, it's not. But if you actually just thought about it for half a minute and think, well, it's worked this far, and there's a pretty obvious reason as to why, and it's a common denominator of Bloom's algorithm and all the sort of structure we've got at the club. And every single time that does make a mistake, and that's actually always in a weird way good when it does, because then you've got a whole sort of shift of, okay, this didn't work, why didn't it work? How much money do we spend in that situation? And it sort of alters it again. Manchester United, on the other hand, I mean, it's the first time, is it, in my sort of time of doing this sort of stuff? I think the last 10 years since Sir Alex Ferguson's went, I don't think you've really had a proper structure at all. It's the first time that's happening. So what's the sort of short-term aims for Manchester United this season, for example? It's all well and good saying they've got the sort of structure now, which I actually do agree with you. But what's the sort of aims now? You won the FA Cup last year. Is it to go for the Champions League? Is it to compete for the title? Where is Man United when is Man United, should I say, going to get to where Manchester United used to be?
Well, there's me, the fan. And me, the fan, wants to win another trophy and 100% get Champions League. And look, I think Champions League should always be the aim every season for Manchester United. And the squad that we've got is definitely good enough to be in that sort of Champions League fight as a minimum. We have got some excellent players. Obviously, they can't always stay fit, and that's been a bit of a problem, and that cost us so badly last season. But no, I think the aim is to get Champions League football this season, get that secured and compete for trophies. But we have to be realistic. This isn't something where we should be looking at short-term aims. We shouldn't be looking at, okay, we're going to do 1 season, 2 seasons. It's more of like a 3-4 season project with Ineos to get back to the very, very best. We want to build something sustainable on and off the pitch.
Unlike Chelsea,
yeah. But I think Chelsea have got themselves to a point where they are literally operating like completely under a short-term guise. And I think Bowley's tried to emulate what they did in the past, but United now have to try and emulate what they did in the past in a way that, Ferguson and Gill might have, David Gill, the executive at the time before Ed Woodward, covered so many of these bases. In modern football, you can't do that anymore. So United have tried to mimic that with Murto and Woodward and everyone that they've had in the intermittent period. But now we're finally being like, right, we know what they did. We're going to cover these bases with a much larger team of experts and people who've got experience, actual genuine football people, and that's what we're doing.
Yeah, I think it is the first time in a long time where I've heard United have anywhere near that sort of
That's what Brighton do so well, and that's why you've been successful.
Well, yeah, and I think probably on the big club side of things, only Arsenal really have done a similar sort of thing to us. I think actually we were probably one of the first ones really to go into the Premier League and create a completely different structure. I think the good thing about what Brighton are in at the moment is they're still a few years ahead of everybody in terms of the recruitment. It's still going to take that catching up. So actually, these next couple of years for Brighton are really exciting. But on a Manchester United point of view, I think when you look at Arsenal, I think Arsenal were the first to sort of take on a younger manager. Obviously, Arteta come in. There was a bit of question marks on it at the beginning. It wasn't exactly hit the ground running. But then when you look back on their squad then, and you look at their squad now, you fancy them for titles, rightfully so. They've competed for the last couple of years. And Manchester United trying to sort of, not copy Arsenal by any stretch, but are they sort of like a big club benchmark of what a project can do in comparison to maybe like a Chelsea, as we mentioned? I think Liverpool are maybe having to go through that soon because of the sort of recent departure of Klopp could hit them a little bit. I'm not saying Slot is not a bad manager by any stretch, but, when you look at the big clubs, not many of them have gone project because not many of them like to actually see a project through.
Yeah, I think that the problem that a lot of clubs, United mainly in the big six sort of have got, is that the expectation to win short term is never going to go away. And last season was evidence for that. If you're going to have, if you are going to build a project, you can't. If you're a Manchester United manager, you can't finish 8th and get away with it. Ten Hag is very lucky to still be in a job. And I think that all the mitigating circumstances on and off the pitch, of which there were so many, is the only reason why he's escaped alive. Whereas Arteta was able to finish 8th twice in a row, albeit one was half a season, and not get too many questions, at least from within the club. And I think that that's something where we haven't got that. We haven't got that sort of, leeway, I suppose. But no, I think United fans definitely recognise that there is a need to build a longer term project. But I do think that our starting point is a lot higher than where Arsenal were. We've got players like Bruno Fernandes is one of the best players in the world in my view. We've got a very, very good squad. Some very big names, excellent young players like Garnacho, Højlund, Xerxes now, of course, demonstrated how good he can be on his debut. And Kobe Mainu is just exceptional.
Stay on your squad, actually. Just move on a little bit. I want to look at your squad. Sort of, I know you said about your ambitions this season, but even coming up against the Brighton this weekend, what are the sort of key pointers to Brighton fans of who we should be looking out for?
We've got some brilliant play. I mean, like Martinez is back now, and Alessandro Martinez is.
That's all right. Well, I haven't got Pascal Gross, so it's not all right, is it? he sat him down, the butcher.
Yeah, well. To be fair to the butcher, I did not enjoy that. Brighton at home is quickly becoming one of my least favourite fixtures.
I can't blame you. I can't blame you.
But to be fair to Martinez, he wasn't fit, and he hasn't been fit for Manchester United for about a year. This is the fittest that he's been in a very long time. He played the entire Copa America. I think he only missed one game, and he was sensational as Argentina won the trophy. Very, very important player for them. Now he's playing with a bit more confidence, and you see he's somebody who is very aggressive. He makes up for what he might lack in height with his passion and what he shows on the pitch. And now that he's not injured, he's fully flying into everything again, and he looks much more assured playing out from the back. He looks like himself, and when he's at its top level, there's not many ball playing centre backs in the world who can be on his level. So watch out for him, of course. I think De Ligt might play, but Maguire played so well against Fulham, and I imagine
he's come back into.
I imagine he'll keep his place, yeah. And I think he's a top class centre back who can cause a lot of problems, especially against your.
He's changed my mind recently.
Yeah, because you've got physical forwards. We all know how good Mitoma is. Minter looked really, really good, and obviously Welbeck's a big presence, and Pedro causes issues by drifting around, but. I think Maguire will be able to deal with them. I think Maguire's operating on quite a high level at the moment, and I expect he'll keep his place over De Ligt, yeah.
Okay, when you look at Brighton's perspective. I mean, there's a lot of talk about Yankuba Minte and Mitoma on the wings. I think genuinely, if we can keep them both fit for a year, we're looking at one of the best wing partnerships in the league this season.
Oh, without question.
And I'm very excited about that idea. I mean, last season, mate, honestly, the amount that we missed having sort of a consistent wing basis. I mean, without Mitoma, obviously was out for so long with that Holgate challenge, probably knocked him back. That was never confirmed, but let's be honest, he literally got wiped out.
Yeah.
And then you look on the right side, obviously we had Adingra, Solly was out for so long. Yeah. So we had such a weakened sort of wing going forward, if you like. So I think this season it's going to be really, really exciting for us. I mean, for you looking at Brighton, obviously we've seen some early signs of Fabian Hertz's football. It's a bit different to De Zerbi's. It's maybe a little bit more direct. There's less focus on build up from the back. There's still that, but we're sort of a bit quicker in going forward. If we sense the opportunity to go for a counter attack, we will. I think Jamie Carragher said that only last season we only did one sort of counter attack that was successful, whereas this season we've already done two, which is quite funny considering there's only been one game. So maybe a little bit of a change in Brighton we might see.
What's interesting, I actually watched Jamie Carragher's video on Brighton's sort of in possession dynamics, and was talking about how they build in midfield now, and rather than using two midfielders, they have the one with Weaver, and then Milner was wider, with Pedro also wider dropping in. And I think that sort of structure, it looks like a 3-1-6 on paper when you build up. There's lots of analysis saying that in the Premier League on the opening weekend, it was lots of 3-1-6 versus...
Zero midfield is sort of the clickbait title that we got shown. And actually, we were close enough to it in our first game.
100%, yeah. And I think Weaver is a very good player. Like, that guy is, physically, he's got the attributes.
He had the first 20 against Everton where it was a bit shaky, and that's to be expected. I think it's probably tilted some perceptions of him, because I think he's top.
He's a very good player, and I'm jealous that you managed to sign him.
I don't know how we did, to be honest. Liverpool wanted him, I'm pretty sure.
Well, you've obviously got such a strong financial position, so you can make these sorts of signings now. But yeah, I mean, I was going to say, there's people using that against a more traditional, almost 4-4-2 out of possession, 4-2-4 that United used so much last season, and again used against Fulham, and Fulham used against us. The dynamics of the game, I would not be surprised if Brighton have 60% possession. United playing a 4-2-4 sort of setup with Mount and Fernandes as the two more offensive players. I think that we're going to see that sort of game where Brighton are very much, controlling the ball. And I mean, I hope United can be a bit more possession based, but with the technicians that you've got in your side, and the fact that I don't know if Xerxes quite ready to start or not, we can't have somebody dropping in as much. I think it's going to be quite a physical game. And that does mean, of course, with your structure, with that 3-1-6, your wingers are really, really wide. And I'm a big fan of Diogo Dalot. I think he's the boy. And I also really was very, very impressed with Mazraoui's debut. But these guys have got their work cut out against Mitoma and Minter, especially when Adringa might come on for the last 20 as well to cause even more problems.
Well, I mean, by the end of the week, we could have a few more moves as well. There's obviously talk of Matt O'Reilly from Celtic coming in, who could... very capably start straight away, because he's done very well sort of in the Champions League for Celtic in pre-season. Then you've got obviously Jorginho Rutter was finally announced yesterday. I don't know if you saw his announcement video, sort of bantering Leeds fans. But one, it was quite funny. But two, actually, it was filmed last Friday. If you look at the last tweets that were being sent, they were last Friday. So they were ready to send that out. I mean, it was quite funny that they waited for so long. But we're looking very, very strong. Ferdi Kadioglu could, of course, be in at right back before the end of the season. So, it's a very exciting time to be Brighton fans, I think, with the amount of signings we're making. I think when you look at us at the moment, I think will be one of the top spenders at the end of the year. When you look at Brighton sort of spending 200 million, what's the outside point of view from that? Do you look at us and think that's a very good thing, Brighton finally spending the money they made? Or do you look at it as very risky, could be a potential sort of Leicester situation where they explode?
No, I mean, I'm probably looking at it from quite a nerdy perspective, but the way that I see it is Brighton's PSR situation is outstanding, and they are, not running any sort of risk, and they just have a lot of money because they've managed everything so well. So, and the books look very healthy. So for me, I think, Brighton have a, very, very good scouting team. We've seen, how good the talent has been. I wouldn't necessarily... Obviously, you can have a few misses. You can't guarantee everything is going to come off, but I wouldn't doubt it for a minute. And, I think the players that you've signed are all fantastic. Ruta as well, I think. I've watched a bit of Leeds last season, quite scared that they might be back up again. Maybe somewhat hoping that they would, because I do miss those Old Trafford 5-1 match days. But yeah, I think that's a very good signing. And I think a lot of the players that you've got, as I say, Weaver, I'm very jealous of. And even last season, like Verbruggen, I think was a great signing as well. I think the signings, the track record is just so good that I don't look at it like Leicester, where I think Leicester were throwing money at silly players, and the structure wasn't really there. So I've got full faith in Brighton as somebody from the outside that they're doing the right thing.
Yeah, it's quite funny, isn't it, how everyone's sort of blindly just backs Brighton signings now. Like, not saying you're backing them blindly, but I'm just saying like the outside perspective is so funny because it's just like they must be good.
It's success, isn't it? It's just proven track record, and yeah, you guys have got a fantastic structure, as we said over and over again, and yeah, I think it's quite scary. I don't know, like if the traditional big six are necessarily that worried about Brighton at this moment in time, but at least from a sporting project point of view, it definitely is one of the best 6 sporting projects in the country. It's certainly better than Chelsea. So, there is a chance that you break into that. And is that what you're going for this season, do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I think we're after it, and I think we sense it. I think we've got the smell of the Europa League, as you can see right here. We want to be back there, because why can't we be back there?
Yeah, and do better.
And I think, and why can't we go beyond it? I mean, why can't we just keep going and going and going? If you're making the right signings, there's no reason why you can't. As we say, the structure's so good. As you say, the signings are so good. I think, if I'm honest with you, I think this is the best Brighton squad that's ever been in my lifetime. I don't think I've ever seen a squad going into a season.
Like, where's Evan Ferguson these days?
There you go. 5th choice striker, 4th choice striker. When we're looking at João Pedro, obviously Danny Welbeck's been really, really good in pre-season, and again, obviously in the last season and this season as well. Then you've got going a bit deeper than them, but you're still looking at some very, very good players in Jorginho Rutter. You're still looking at Evan Ferguson in there, as you said before. But even some of our youth boys look very, very talented and very ready to potentially make that step up. So the actual succession plan is there to see now, and actually it's the first time we've made first team signings in a long time directly for the first team squad. I think when my cousin messaged me earlier, he's a Chelsea fan, said, "What happened to the 5 million signings? You've lost your juice. Where's the South Americans?" And I'm like, maybe we've got enough of them already anyway. We're stacked with that front as well. The youth intake's been brilliant.
I really like to look at Barco.
Barco's a great intake, but then I think as well, when you look at the development squad, Kamari Doyle, etc., we've made some really, really good and shrewd sort of youth team development squad that could potentially break out into the first team.
I think we're in a similar position where even the old regime before Ineos came in had a little bit of a late flurry with getting some good talent in the youth squad. Obviously, we saw Mainu last season and Garnacho the season before. But some of the players that
Kobbie Mainoo's a great player.
Oh, that guy is. I think
class.
We did a video, a few months ago, and I said he was clear of Caicedo. I
agree with you.
I didn't quite say it, but I would quite say it now.
It was enough to clickbait you in the title.
Yeah, it was. I said it enough. Yeah, but yeah, I think Mainoo's excellent. And he's like the crown jewel of the academy for sure. But even we've got a lot of good guys coming through. We just signed Obi Martin from Arsenal as well, who wasn't he the guy? He scored I think 23 goals in. I don't know. I don't want to get some wrong stats here, but
something like that.
He definitely scored an insane number of goals against Liverpool in one game. So this guy is incredible signing, and something that, again, like Lenny Yoro, as I said earlier, not really traditional United behaviour. So I think in the same way that I look at Brighton and I think, oh yeah, that's a very good bit of business. I'm doing that now as a sort of trying to be as neutral as possible, looking at United, and I think. We're 2 very well-run clubs at the moment. So.
Yeah, I do look at United, and it's not the same sort of look at United as I had probably a couple of years ago. Although I do sort of still look at Ten Hag and wonder if he is going to be the guy to be there at the end of it all. I think he's a decent manager.
I think it's a bit similar to you, though, in that the manager is just a piece of the puzzle rather than being the thing you build it around, which wasn't always the case at United.
No, that's actually changed probably now. That wasn't really a thing then. But we'll look at the game then. Score predictions. I hate doing it to you, but you've got to do it at the end of it. You've done the talk. We've seen what United are about. We've heard about their transfer business. You've heard about your talk on Brighton. What do you think the score is going to be, and how do you think it's going to come about?
Well, I mean, I'm going to say that United are going to win because I'm a United fan. But
it'd be wrong not to.
No, of course. But yeah, I do think it's going to be a difficult game. I think there'll be goals. I'm going to say 2-1 United. I think we are missing Højlund. I don't know if Xerxes fit to start or not. So we might be operating without a striker again.
I didn't realise you were missing Højlund. I've got to be honest, I quite like him.
Højlund's fantastic. Yeah, he's probably out until after the international break alongside Luke Shaw. But yeah, we've been using Mount and Fernandes at the end of pre-season and then both against City and Fulham.
What do you make of Mount?
Oh, Mount. I think Mount's really good. He sets off our press all the time. Like he's the first person to go.
There's a misconception, mate, because everyone thinks of him as a flop.
Well, I mean, he's a flop. He's been a flop so far. It's not worked out, but it's not really his fault. Like he was injured, and then he was playing in a team. Again, like I think anybody who played for that United team last season was up against it. It was not a good side. It was not balanced. There were many different mitigating factors that impacted individual performance. But for me, I think Mount can offer us something. And people would say like, oh, where's he going to play? How is he going to fit into the team? Well, modern football requires a squad of players who can do different things. And you're not having a settled starting 11 anymore. I think it could almost be said to be a relic of the past. So for me, Mount's got a lot to offer. I think he's very important. Even last season was very important in setting off our press. So I think at the moment where United are without a proper sort of out-and-out six, Mount is somewhat indispensable because, you know, defending from the front, it all comes from him. So especially in that sort of dual striker sort of role with Fernandes, it works. And I imagine we'll probably see that again because I think Xerxes probably needs another game or two before he can start. So, yeah, and I think if we do that and we've got a good shape out of possession, I think we can limit Brighton. Brighton played a very high line against Everton. And obviously we do have Marcus Rashford who'll be licking his lips at that and likes the game against Brighton too. So, yeah, I can see us winning and I think Rashford will score. I think Rashford's due a goal. He missed some big chances against City and, you know, was unfortunate not to get something more against Fulham. So I think Rashford's going to score and I think we'll win 2-1.
2-1. Safe bet.
Yeah, it's a safe bet. I think it might happen. What about you?
I don't know. I think I do fancy us at the minute. And the thing is, because we're filming this on the Tuesday, right? I haven't checked Twitter, so knowing us, we probably had another piece of breaking news. But we are anticipating more signings, and that could change the way I look at it by the end of the week. Against Everton, we had a bit of a struggle. I think first 20, we could have easily been 2 or 3-0 down.
Yeah.
And I think if that's against anyone that's half decent at finishing, that would have happened.
We're not half decent at finishing, though. You should be.
Oh, you're not?
No. I think if we can create chances, but last season and this season, we've really struggled to put it away, especially without an actual striker on the pitch.
That's true, actually, yeah.
But we have got that Rashford behind the high line, which is something Everton didn't really have.
Yeah, that's true. And I think, you know, Harrison caused us a couple of problems, I think, first 20 minutes. I think we quickly sussed it out, and I think from that point on, we hit them for the goal and then they just capitulated. We understand, obviously, Everton are going to be a much easier task probably than Manchester United will be. But I do fancy us at the minute. I think we've got a very good team. I think we're doing very well. I think Hertz's football, it suits us. It's different. I think there's obviously a lot to be proved with him. As everybody keeps saying, he's a very young manager. I don't think that's too much of a problem. If I'm honest with you, I just look at how good he is.
No, especially because he fits into that puzzle around him.
Yeah, right? Exactly. And I look at the way we've been playing, and I'm like, I think we could do it as well. Yeah. First home game of the season, 12:30 kickoff against the big side. It screams Jorginho Rutter scoring his opening goal.
If United weren't in such a decent position, sort of off the pitch, and you know things didn't feel much more up, and I was quite downbeat at the moment, I'd be saying we lose this 4-0.
Yeah, like 2019, this is a 4-0 win for us. Like it's actually ridiculous. But I'm going to stick with the win. And I'm going to say. I'm going to say there's going to be a debut goal in there for Jorginho. I just have a feeling about him. I think he's got that aura that comes over from being the best player at Leeds.
Leeds boy scores against United.
That would be quite. That's what I mean. It's got the sort of storyline to it, and I think it would be quite nice for him to get a debut goal. But I think
you're selling me nightmares here.
More importantly, I think we're going to win. I think João Pedro is also due a goal from last week. He worked his absolute socks off. And I'm going to say a 2-0 win. I don't think we're going to concede. I think we're looking quite good.
That'd be bold.
The only thing that might change that is defence, dependent on sort of who's in goal. Is it going to be Steele? There's question marks over Verbruggen's whether he's going to be fit.
Have you still got that rotation?
No, Verbruggen's injured, so he's been out for 6 weeks, missed the whole pre-season, so I don't know if he's going to be back. There was talk of being back for United, but I think he'll probably miss it personally. But I'm going to stick with a 2-0 win.
I can't agree. I do think we're going to cause you some problems.
I hope you're wrong, but I think of it and I'm like, well, you probably know more than I do. But that's the fun of having opposition previews.
Well, I don't know. I think United have got a lot of threat, And I think the way that Brighton play kind of can play into our hands, or at least played against. I don't think it's Hursla's a new what's the word?
Unproven.
No, unknown quantity.
Unknown quantity.
Yeah, that's the phrase I was looking for. And so I don't know. Maybe he's going to switch things up, and maybe he's going to be a bit more pragmatic against us. But if he does exactly what he does against Everton, we'll win.
We'll see.
That's what I'm saying.
We'll see. I'm still quite excited. I've got to be honest. I just love football being back.
Yeah, it's so much good. It's much better, isn't it? You've got something to actually look forward to.
Looking forward to going to the Amex, and it's going to be having that routine back is great. So Isaac, top man, thank you very much for joining me.
Thanks
course,
for having me on,
I
mate.
can't give you a handshake because I'm not knocking that over. And if it's me, it will 100%. Everything's on the
you've been
floor.
on today, mate.
Honestly. So I'm not going to do that. But thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much for joining us as well. Make sure you follow. Probably not subscribe. You don't do YouTube too much, do you? But make sure you follow.
I've got TikTok now, though.
Oh, have you?
Yeah,
give yourself a plug, mate. Look into the camera and give yourself a plug.
Please follow United Cloud on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter.
Top man. Also have your TSR, of course. But thank you for joining us, of course. Make sure you subscribe to Talk Seagulls. See everything else we're doing, and we'll see you very, very soon. And hopefully after another Albion win at the Amex. Thank you. I don't even know what else to say. Top.